Welcome to our session today where we'll look at the theory of demand. So, our introduction, when we're dealing with demand, basically, we're looking at the quantity of goods and services that consumers are both willing and able to buy at different prices given a period of time. So, demand is given by an equation which is downsloping. So, the demand equation looks like this. P is equal to A minus BQ. So A is got the y-intercept, B is got the slope. So the demand equation is always negative, and this is what makes the elasticity of demand always negative. So if the price of bread, for instance, is 20 kwacha, you can buy 100 loaves per day. But if the price goes up, what will happen? The demand will go down. So it makes up what we call the law of demand. So the law of demand simply states that for every particular good, if the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. And we call this an inverse relationship. Okay? Inverse relationship happens when one variable is going up, causing a negative or an opposite reaction in the other variables. So this is what makes the slope be negative. So there are factors that affect demand. So demand is influenced by number one, price of the product, income, preferences, related goods, the size, okay, expectations. And this gives us what we call the demand schedule. The demand schedule is given by what? The factors of demand. The factors of demand, which says number one, the price of that particular good, the price of the complement, the price of the substitute, the income, okay, the natural population, the taste, technology, expectations, weather, uh, population size, expectations, income. So all these are factors that affect demand. Now you notice that only price causes a movement. We call this is a movement along the demand curve. Okay, the rest will cause a shift. A shift is simply a movement of the entire curve, either to the left or to the right. So if there's a change in income, it will shift maybe outwards if your income increases. If there's a reduction in income, it will shift in. So this is what we call a shift. So demand can only be caused by a shift if we're dealing with any other factor other than price. Price causes a movement along. The rest of the factors will cause a shift. So far, are we together? So in like manner, we also have what we call supply. Supply is upsloping. It is given by price. It's equal to A plus BX. Notice the difference is only in the what? The slope. Here it was a negative, here it is a positive. Okay, so this is our intercept here and our upward sloping. So can somebody explain to us what are some of the factors that affect demand? We say the price of that particular product. If the prices go up, the quantity reduce. The consumer income. What happens to the consumer income? If income goes up for a normal good, what will happen? The demand will go down. All right. So now income has what we call the income effect. So all these factors have what we need to understand. So if your elasticity of income is negative, we call that an inferior good. So an inferior good is a good that you demand less of if your income goes up. So for instance, a black and white TV, if your income goes up and you buy less of that, meaning that good is an inferior good. Okay, you buy more of a normal good. If your income goes up and you're buying more of that good, it's called a normal good. For instance, designer clothes. All right. If your income elasticity is more than zero, if it's a positive in short. So what other factors affect is your taste and preferences. All right. Your taste and preferences. So fashion and trend will affect your demand. For instance, if a smartphone, iPhone, goes viral, there'll be experiencing of high demand. The price of related goods Okay, for instance, tea and coffee. So if the price of tea goes up, the demand for um, coffee will increase because you switch. If the price of coffee goes up, people demand less of coffee and will switch to demanding more of tea. We call that the substitution effect. Then we also have complementary goods like bread and butter. These are goods that move hand in hand. So complementary goods are goods that move hand in hand. For instance, bread and butter, phone and SIM card. All right. Population. If you're a larger population, will result to a higher demand. For instance, if you have more students, more demand for tutorial classes. There are a few exceptions that you need to understand when you're dealing with demand. So exceptions are number one, we have what we call giffen goods. So very poor consumers may buy more of an inferior goods when the price increases. For instance, cheap staple food like maize, all right? They'll still buy of it because that's a given good. We also have what we call Veblen goods. Veblen goods are expensive goods. So they're more attractive the more they become expensive. So the rich people would want designer watches. They don't want everyone else to want to possess them. So those are exceptions. Accordingly, I said the law of demand simply states that if the price goes up, the quantity demanded will go down. And the other exception to the law is expectation. So people will buy more if they expect future shortages. For instance, if fuel is going to go up, they'll buy more before midnight. All right. So this is what we need to know. So I've talked about the law of supply. Okay, it's upsloping. Okay, so there are factors that affect supply. What are some of the factors that affect supply? Okay, so supply simply means what? That the quantity of goods and services that the producers are willing and able to offer at different prices in a given period in time. So supply also has a law which simply states that as the price increases, the quantity supplied will also increase. And as the price decreases, the quantity supplied also decreases, holding all things constant. That term in economics we call it peripass, ceteris paribus. So now there are factors that affect supply. They are similar here. So we have the price of that good. Okay, so if the price of maize goes up, people will grow more maize so that they supply it more. The cost of production. So if the cost will go up, what will happen? There will be decrease in production. The technology also, if there's improved technology and efficiency, production will go up. Government policy. So government also will affect the supply through taxes. So if there are more taxes, there will be less supply. Okay, if there are subsidies which will reduce the cost of production, it will mean that more production will be done. Weather also affects your supply. Okay, generally in agriculture, when there's drought, there will be low supply of maize. When there's rainfall, there'll be good supply of maize. What else? The number of sellers. So if you have more producers, there'll be more supply. And also price of related goods. Okay, so producers will switch depending on what? Production and profitability. So if soybeans prices will go up, farmers will grow more soybeans and maize, which is actually the case. And also expectations of future prices. So if people expect um, there to be a bumper harvest for maize, so obviously you shouldn't grow maize because the price will go down. Availability of inputs. So inputs are resources that are used in production, like land, labor, fertilizer, machines. So if inputs are scarce, production will be scarce or supply will be scarce and vice versa. Other factors would be what? Infrastructure, transport. If the road system is good, production will be high. So also this experiences a shift to the left and to the right. So a shift to the right is because of what? Better technology, subsidies, and low production. So this is a shift to the right, and this is a shift to the left. Only price causes a movement along. Now, we want to go to a point which we call equilibrium. So if these two companies are not controlled, the consumer would want to go down as much as possible. The supplier would want to go up as possible. This is demand. So they would have to meet at a point of equilibrium. So point of equilibrium is simply where demand is equal to supply. All right? Demand is equal to supply. So this we call what? Equilibrium. So equilibrium is simply a point where demand is equal to supply. So now we need to learn how to sketch these equations. Are we together? We need to learn how to sketch these equations. So if I'm a little fast, you tell me so that I can go back a bit for your understanding. So now we want to look at how to sketch these particular equations. So what did I say? At equilibrium, what happens? Demand is equal to supply. So we're going to sketch an equation where demand literally is equal to supply. Then we see how to come up with these equations and also um, use the government interventions to calculate our surpluses, consumer surplus and producer surplus. So then we go to elasticity. Okay, so if that is clear, let me now take you to another important component of demand and supply. So you're able to tell that this is our demand equation and it's our supply equation by the way the equation looks like. So if you're given, for instance, P is equal to 100 minus 2Q, and you're given as P is equal to 10 plus 3Q. Which one is the demand and which one is the supply? So because of this sign here, this one is our supply. There's a positive slope. Because of the negative on the slope, this is our demand. So we're asked to sketch and find the equilibrium and find the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. All right, so how do we sketch a demand equation? The easiest part is you put the letters on one side. So for this one here, we're going to have P plus 2Q is equal to what? 100. So you identify the intercepts. There's an invisible one there. 1 into 100, it will cut the P at what? 100. 2 into 100, it will cut the P at what? 50. So if you're going to sketch your equation, we're going to have something like this here. The P here and the Q here. So on the P, you cut at 100 and the Q you cut at 50. So here, put the P at 100 and the Q at 50. All right. Then let's go to this demand, supply equation. We'll put the letters on one side. P is already this side. What will happen to the 3Q? You subtract minus 3Q is equal to what? 10. So that's an invisible one there. So 1 into 10, it will be at 10. Negative 3 into 10 is negative 3.33. So the P is what? Here, negative 3. So to go something, this is negative 3.33, and here it's at 10. Okay, so now we need to identify our equilibrium. Equilibrium is where demand and supply meet. So what did you say demand is? Equilibrium is where demand is equal to supply. What was our demand? 100 minus 2Q. What is our supply? 10 plus 3Q. Okay, so here we're going to have 100, subtract 10, and here we're going to have 2Q, add 3Q. So what are we going to have here? 90 is equal to what? 5Q. We divide both sides by what? 5. So meaning our Q therefore will be 18. So meaning Q here is 18. How to find our P? We can use any of these ones since they're both starting with a P. Usually the supply is easier because there's a positive there, it's easy to add, but we still get the same answer. So where there's Q, put 18. 3 times 18 is 54. 54 plus 10 is 64. So meaning here we're going to put 64. Okay, 64. So this is how the sketch will be. Suppose we put our Q here as 18. What do we get? 2 times 18 is 36, from 100 is 64. So this is called our equilibrium. Now there are two triangles here, triangle A and triangle B. The area below the demand equation is called the consumer surplus, this triangle here. So consumer surplus is simply the area of a triangle. From our grade 8, area of a triangle is half times what? Base times what? Height. So our base, if we're going to redraw this triangle here, from 100 to 64, what do we get? 36. From 0 here to 18, what do we get? 18. Are we together? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? If I may to ask. Any questions, please ask.
I think I'm a bit lost when finding the area there for the consumer surplus. Can you just repeat that?
How to find the what? The consumer
Where
surplus.
you put the consumer surplus, yes. How did we, we used the formula
Okay, so
for
here,
the area of a triangle, right?
equilibrium, first of all, is a point where demand meets. This is called our equilibrium. Okay? Then this area here is called the consumer surplus. Okay, then the area here is called the producer surplus. So the formula for consumer surplus is what? Half base times height. Same, the area for the producer surplus is also half base times height, which is the triangle. Now, how do we get those dimensions? So the distance from here to here, you subtract 100 minus 64, that is how we get 36. And 18 minus 0 is 18. All right? So let's try to gather the dimensions for producer surplus. From here to here, it's same 18. How about from 10 to 64? What is that length?
54.
54, correct. So calculate for me the consumer surplus and the producer surplus given those dimensions. 18, then 54. Then the total surplus is when you add consumer surplus plus producer surplus. When you add them, you're going to get 810. Calculate for me. What are you getting? What are you getting? So this will be 320 what? 24 for the producer surplus. Mm-hmm. About producer surplus?
486.
486. So when you add both of them, what do you get?
810.
810. Okay. So that is how we find our total surplus when we add the two. All right. Are we together?
Collins, just a minute. I'm going to take you back.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually logged out the time you started from P, from price, where you said 100 minus 2Q. I was logged out. So my concern really is the 50.
The 50. It's on sketching. So I was saying this is our demand equation here. How do you know it's a demand equation? Because there's a negative here.
Like it's already given in the
Yes,
question?
it's already given. You'll be given two equations, the demand equation and the supply equation. So what we're learning is how to sketch. So say to sketch any linear equation, firstly you put the letters on one side. So there's a p there, minus 2q. When it comes this side, it will be plus 2q. The 100 remain here. So there's an invisible one there. 1 into 100, it is 100. So on the p, it will cut 100. That's why I went to the p, put that 100 there. Then 2 into 100 is 50. So on the q, it will cut 50. So this is making our demand equation straight line. Then we also go to the supply equation. There's p there. When this p,
Okay.
3 crosses there to be negative here, right? Then the 10 remains there. So 1 into 10, it is 10. That's why we put our 10 here, put our dot there. Then negative 3 with this sign into 10 is negative 3.3. That's why it's starting from here, negative 3.3. Then we joined. That is how we sketch these equations. Is that clear? This is a very important part. Very good question. When you're dealing with
It
that,
was supposed to be 3 into 10.
negative 3 into 10 is negative 3.33. So
Sorry, Colin, you
negative,
said 3 into 10.
yes, negative 3 into 10. Because there's a number here, negative 3. Minus 3 into 10 is minus
Oh,
3.3.
this is 3Q.
Yes, the Q
This
here.
looks like 34.
No, 3Q.
Okay.
We're just getting the intercepts. All right.
So another question.
Uh-huh.
May I please see the question?
Pardon?
Did you come
So
up with this equation or it's in the question?
I came up with this so to learn how to sketch. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
All
send me
right.
any past paper so that we look at how to sketch at this point before I proceed. Hmm.
Okay.
So are we together on sketching? Or can I give another sketching example before I proceed?
Okay, we can have another one.
All right, okay. So whilst I'm uploading a past paper, let me ask you to try with me to sketch these equations here. Suppose we're given Q is equal to 100 minus 5p and Q is equal to negative 20 plus 4p or 5p. Okay. Okay. Which one is demand and which one is supply of these two? This one is what? Demand. Why? So has a negative slope. This one is supply. Even when you're not told, at least you need to know that. So what we do to sketch this equation, we put the letters on one side. All right, so we're going to have what? Q plus 5p is equal to what? 100, right? What number is there? It's an invisible one. So 1 into 100, Q cut at 100. 5 into 100, P will cut at what? 20. So when you draw our X or Y plane, so the P and Q, and here we have 0. So P will be where? At 20, write your 20, put your dot there. Q will be 100, put your 100 there, and you connect the two lines. Wow. Then here, the letters on one side. So this 20 can go this side, and this one also 20, will be positive here. And here our Q will be negative. Q, okay, 5p. So now the P, 5 into 20, it is 4. So P will cut at 4. Negative 1 into 20 is negative 20. So while it cut, we are going to have something like this here. Negative 20 here for the Q and negative 4 here. Okay, not 44. Okay, so equilibrium. Where does equilibrium occur? Who remembers? How do we find the equilibrium? Equilibrium occurs when what? Quantity demanded is equal to what? Quantity supplied, right? So what is the quantity demanded there? 100 minus 5p. And what is the quantity supplied? Negative 20 plus what? 5p. So when this one goes aside, it will be 120. This one goes aside, it will be 5p plus 5p. It is 10p. So we divide both sides by what? 10. What is our p going to be? P will be going to be 12, right? We put our 12 here. All right, then to find our Q, we can put our P in any of these two. So when we put our 12 here, 5 times 12, 60. 60 minus 20 is 40. So this will be at 40. If you want, you can put your what? The 12 here. 5 times 12, 60. 100 minus 60 is 240. All right. Are you following me?
Yes.
Then you can illustrate the consumer surplus. What are the dimensions of the consumer surplus? From 20 to 12, this is 8. From 0 to 40, it's 40. Let's do the dimensions here also for the producer surplus. They share the same base, so here it's also 40. But the height from 4 to 12, that is what? 8. So it's similar dimensions. So half times 40 times 8. What do we get? 160. Same here, half times 40 times 8. This is equal to 160. So the total surplus is 320. So this is how we calculate our equations. Okay, so I need us to practice. I've sent this in the group, the video in the group. So I'll send questions just on what we have looked at so that you have to try while remaining with 5 minutes. And what I can mention in 5 minutes is also you need to understand the how to optimize. So optimization, basically you need to know that total revenue is equal to price times quantity. Average revenue is equal to total revenue over quantity. Marginal revenue is simply when you differentiate the total revenue with respect to quantity. I hope you did your calculus better. So if you're given your price is equal to 170 minus 5Q, your total revenue is simply price times quantity. So if you're given that equation, our price is what? 170 minus 5Q. So the Q is never given, you impute it. So 170 Q times Q is 170Q. 5Q times Q is what? 5Q squared. So this is how we find our total revenue. Marginal revenue is when you differentiate your total revenue. So how do we differentiate? 170Q, when you differentiate it, the derivative is 170. 5Q squared, when you differentiate it, it is 10Q. The average revenue is simply when you divide your total revenue by quantity. So our total revenue, we already found it is 170Q minus 5Q squared. So when you divide by Q, our average revenue, go back to our original price function. which is 170 minus 5Q. So this is called our average revenue. So please watch my next video on optimization, the demand, and how to find the cost optimization, and how to find the profit and the curves. So this is just a preamble of our next session. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day.